if your leader isn't getting their hands dirty, then you might need to go demonstrate what's possible to help them get exposed and really kind of show and hopefully encourage them to also spend time and show them that they can do it. I think when any leader touches these tools and starts to realize what is possible, their minds are going to be changed. And it's like you realize that you are going to get left behind if you don't, go and try something new because your competitors are gonna.
Welcome to Stack Sessions. I'm Jeff Keyes, Field CTO at AllStacks, where we explore the intersection of software engineering and business strategy and how AI is changing the way product and engineering leaders build, decide, and lead. Today, I'm joined by Curtis Sherbo, product leader for patient conversations at Athena Health. Curtis runs the smallest product group inside of a very large healthcare tech platform. 250 people across product, UX, and engineering. And out of that constraint, his team has gone further on AI transformation than most large companies are still even planning to. Curtis, thanks for being here.
My pleasure, Jeff.
So give us a little background. Who is Curtis and how did you end up in the role you're doing?
Well, it's definitely been a journey. I started out with actually a software engineering background by education and kind of started my career in telecom. And more on the customer side of the telecom industry, building out high-speed internet networks back in the day when that was really taking off. Before I transitioned to the vendor side of the business and really became a product manager and crossed the table. And I think that really kind of formed my point of view on product and being really customer first and really trying to empathize with customers and the problems they're trying to solve. Now here I am many, many years later, more than I probably want to disclose. Where I've been evolving my product career through a number of different industries. Majority of my time in telecom, moving a short stint in fintech, and now here at Athena Health, I've been in healthcare IT for almost 9 years now, and really kind of shaping my craft and really trying to shape new product managers and help them grow in their abilities as well. And of course, this is an unprecedented time. We haven't really experienced this kind of change and to change the way that we work and really reevaluate things as we are right now. And even as a leader, I'm having to go back and really kind of adjust. And how do we still have some of the same product management principles, but take advantage of the new tools and the new skills that are available to remain competitive and really kind of shift the way we're doing business these days.
I love it. That and that as the primary banner call is what was super interesting about our conversation. I remember one of the things you said is that this transformation wasn't really an AI transformation. You said your team started with a constraint. Can you double click on that for a second? Because I thought that was really interesting.
Absolutely. So really, like in any organization, we're always looking for efficiencies. We always, want more resources, and we want to do more than we actually have capacity to do. And so we are always playing a prioritization game. And right. I am one of the smaller teams within our company from an R&D perspective, but our customers have high expectations, and our teams want to deliver more. And we want to deliver that roadmap faster. We want to deliver more value, and we're blessed with the fact that we can ship more product and our customers want more product. There's no shortage of ideas and problems to be solved. So we are always kind of learning and looking for different ways to squeak more efficiency out of the organization. So we really started this journey probably 18 to 24 months ago. Myself and my co-leaders really started to look outside of our company and outside of our existing process and look for opportunities to do things differently. It's not just work harder and ask more from people. It's just what can we do differently and learn what to do. AI was coming around as an assistant kind of tool and whatnot, but we started with our organization. We knew we had many steps to take to really kind of to get there, and so we started actually just looking at our organizational structure and were there any opportunities there for us as well. So that's where we kind of started our journey. Understanding how we were working today. Like most organizations, we had an agile framework. We were, following that, but it had become quite rigid. And agile starts to look a little bit like waterfall over time if you're not careful. And we needed to break all that apart. So nothing was sacred, and we really wanted to kind of evaluate what was possible. So we did start with the organization. We did look outside, and we decided to adopt Team Topologies as a, kind of an approach to understand how our teams could work differently, and really start to reduce the cognitive load and the burden of collaboration and how the different teams could work together. And so that was step one for us, is really kind of evaluating and defining the products that we were delivering, how we were breaking down the software that was being built to deliver those products, and how our teams could work differently, and maybe try to find some economies of scale by applying some of those principles.
It's so fascinating. So many people are looking at this as an AI transformation, but that's not how you guys approached it. You went in saying, let's have an efficiency conversation. And then from efficiency became organization. And then it was, okay, nothing is sacred. I also love that commentary that maybe certain agile frameworks become the new waterfall. I don't know. It just ironic. For people that are just starting on this journey, where, let's say, go back and now take your 18 months experience. What's the wrong place to start? What's the right place to start? How do you guide other people that are looking to really improve efficiencies given all this AI stuff, if you will?
I think first you really have to understand how your organization is running currently. So we really invest in getting close to the people on the front lines, go spend time with them, understand where they're spending their time and what work they're doing. That was a big thing for us. Is we started interviewing different team members. We're looking for bright spots, looking for people who we considered to be really effective in their roles, and what were they doing differently than their peers. But even in those high performant people, there's loads of opportunity. So that's where I would start, is really kind of, you have to really map your current system, map how is your organization working before you try to change it. I think otherwise you're just going to be doing change for the sake of change. But if you don't understand what your business is and how your organization runs, you won't really know where to start.
Yeah, for sure. When you were out looking for those bright spots, were there any particular standouts? You don't have to necessarily mention names, but particular processes where you're like, oh my gosh, why do we not all do this? And talk a bit about what you found.
Certainly. So some of our top people, we found that they had a unusually high customer orientation versus some of the others. Where some folks could get really bogged down in process, and they're really worried about checking all the boxes and repeatable things that they were doing, and they became more internally, I think, development focused from a product perspective and execution, versus others who were unusually customer focused. So they were driving user groups, they were getting lots of feedback, they were trying to communicate with a diverse set of customers as they could, and users, to understand the problems we really needed to be solving, and really get a strong point of view and prioritization as well, just to really build the right product that was going to meet our customers' needs.
I love that. Customer orientation, build the right products, get feedback loops going. More important than process orientation, methodology focused, and procedural. Who would have thought? Hey, as we talk about the team topologies, for those that aren't familiar with what that means, it's a fairly big shift. What does that mean to your organization? Give us the cliff notes on team topologies and what that meant for your organization.
So the team topologies part that we took advantage of was defining kind of more platform orientation and teams that could own structure that other teams could interface with, and separating out business capabilities and skills, or like the software features from those platform capabilities, so that the business capability teams could really think about the problems they were solving. They were very user oriented. How is this software going to make life better for a user? And the platform teams could look for reuse and scale and performance, and really reusable interfaces and APIs as well, so that you didn't have the same teams having to think about the structural components of a platform or an experience. They could really focus on the usability and the value that they were trying to drive in their feature. So for us in our organization and overall, we're responsible for patient experience at Athena Health. So that involves a native mobile app and web portals and messaging solutions and patient interaction, through different channels like SMS and email and things like that. It became clear that our platforms were our web and app experiences and all of our patient communications. So those are the two kind of platform areas that we broke out to really kind of focus and standardize those, and then let everything else be features and business capabilities. And so we would orient the teams around there. And so a feature team would own their feature and can deliver it into the multiple platforms. And they were the experts on that feature, so they didn't have to worry about the other details. And they would only have to interface at more of the API level with those platform capability teams. And that really unlocked a lot for us. We've been in that posture now for probably 6 to 9 months, and our teams are really liking it, and they're really finding it easier to work with. And we're seeing a lot more continuity and consistency across our experiences because a single team is responsible for all aspects of it, and they know that area. So that was a big unlock for us, especially from a product perspective and product management perspective, is they could just immerse themselves in a given topic area and be the experts on it.
That's fantastic. How well did the teams receive this sort of, hey, your platform, your business focused, your other tooling? How did that go down, and what was the receptiveness of it?
So we approached it really carefully, communicating with our teams a lot, leading into the change. And we spent a lot of time explaining why and trying to give them the background without making everybody read, the Team Topologies book or really become experts on that, but to help them understand the why behind it, to accept that change. So I think at first it was a little rocky, but not terrible, because we were trying to bring everyone along for the ride there. For some folks, it was a little bit harder than others. Somebody who owned an entire experience, including all of the capability in that experience, it felt like a little bit of a loss. They gave up the platform side of it, and to just focus on the feature capabilities. On the surface, it felt like a loss, like they had less responsibility. So for some of those folks, that was a little bit more difficult. But now, as we've been working through that transition, and I've really partnered with some of those leaders to really understand the true unlock on the value that they can deliver and the much broader roadmap of capabilities they could deliver, they've come around now and are quite excited about the possibility of what they can do and the true value that can be delivered.
That's fantastic. One of the benefits of having a superstructured methodology is managing the dependencies. In a platform aligned team with business, you still have them. This change, can you talk about what the implications are to dependencies and how managing those and how that's been, how have you been approaching that, and what some of the ups and the downs of all that path?
Well, the type of dependency really changed. Because the platform can be delivered independently of the features, and the goal is really to have the platform be ahead of the features and be providing the right infrastructure that the feature teams are going to need well in advance. It's not always that way, but it's a different type of dependency rather than maybe two teams having to deliver completely dependent code at the same time into the same repos to be able to deliver a particular feature. We just don't have that anymore. So that definitely simplified things, and it let timing be less of an issue on different teams' deliveries. And so that's something we don't have to coordinate, and solve with process. Timing and coordination. You usually approach a problem like that with process, and our goal is to try to reduce process. How do we make this simpler? How do we make these interfaces between teams more natural and less dependent, and more time to communicate and lead into these things? The other place that we really I think, approach that problem and trying to manage through it is just more frequent communication and more transparency to the roadmaps between the teams, so that we're really looking forward and we understood future requirements and what things could impact that, so that especially levying requirements on the platform teams, so the platform teams had more line of sight to future needs, and so they could prioritize appropriately as well.
That's fantastic. So, A lot of product and engineering leaders are starting in an organization that they didn't design. They didn't consider whether to restructure before they even start adopting AI. So, what would you tell them to think about first, as given your experience and journey? Like, how do you coach these folks, and what do you tell them?
So it's a little bit unique. I think obviously a large organization such as Athena Health, we there's lots of standards, there's structure across different divisions, and we want to be somewhat consistent. So there are still some constraints that we're going to abide by to try to still be a part of the same company as our peers.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's certain things that we have flexibility on, and our leaders give us more flexibility on that. And so we definitely try to take advantage of where it makes sense, and then negotiate any of the interfaces between teams, because of course there's still dependencies outside of my organization as well. And so we do really try to communicate a lot and really signal what the right prioritizations, the right business priorities are, and our leaders and our executive leadership team really can help, with guidance on overall business objectives and things like that. But when it comes to our people and really trying to coach them through that, the more we share the reasoning and the justification and try to explain the outcomes we're trying to achieve, the more buy-in we get. So when we really try to help them understand the process, we don't just dictate. We don't say we're doing this and you don't need to know why. Like, that's not the approach we take. We definitely try to lead them and with the reasoning. And we also, it's not ever a one and done. We have to revisit the topics typically multiple times in multiple forums, and try to empower our lower level leaders as well to understand the messaging so that they are not only bought in, but they can still communicate to the frontline team members as well, and really try to help them with the understanding that change and dealing with any objections, and really trying to answer any of those questions and help them understand the benefit.
That's great. A lot of bringing people along in the journey so they can learn at their own rate. I remember something you said, that you had to sort of rate change your or rate limit your change to help people sort of come along this journey with you. I thought that was really fascinating.
Absolutely, and so that's something. So in the organizational change we've made, that step one was the platform aligned, the business capability aligned teams, and that was enough. Like, that was hard enough for people to go through that change. Mm-hmm. And then as we started to bring in AI tooling, and I think our conversation will likely naturally go there, but like that's something we've had to roll out carefully and thoughtfully as well. And thankfully our organization has given us the space to do that, and to really learn and try to understand the right applications of the technology to how we create our products, and go through that change. And so there's even more organizational change now that we're starting to kind of work in, and even then we're still we have an organizational roadmap, which is a little bit different. Like, normally you have a product roadmap, but we actually did come up with an organizational roadmap, and we haven't shared it with everybody, but we know where we're going, and so that the information might change that over time. But I already have next 2 or 3 steps figured out or intended, which can change. Obviously it can change.
Sure.
But there's a method, and there's, it's like that rate limit you just referenced. There's only so much people can absorb at one time, or we won't get the outcome that we want.
Yeah. What a great thing to think about. So, sort of as a leader, be thinking about how you can have this future vision of how things will operate, and continually to take bites out of that apple, or take steps in that direction. Hey, something that I also thought was really interesting. You said when AI tools became real, you didn't lead with automation. You led with learning. The framing you used was, how do we expand our knowledge faster? Not how can we replace what we do today? How can we just generate more code? How did you? I thought that was brilliant. Like, give some background on that. Why did you come up with that order, and how that's incorporated into the sort of the culture of where you're at?
So we were really fortunate that last year, as tools were really starting to mature and become more capable, that we still had this space to learn. And we'd already, like many organizations, you set goals for the year. You have your larger objectives and your key results that you're trying to pursue. And for us, it was really important that we still maintained all those commitments, which is challenging to also carve out time to learn and to go and experiment with these tools. So definitely we were encouraging our teams through last year through sponsored events and things like that, where we had, kind of learning events and or share outs. So one of the things that we do in my organization is we use it as a bit of a development opportunity at the same time is we do peer learning. And so we'll have some of our frontline team members, our product managers, who have done something novel or they've experimented and they've spent time with some of the tools, and they're looking at how to just automate or try to do my job a little bit differently using the tools that were available to them and some of the different AI tools. We were really encouraging everyone to share because we were trying to make it really low risk, so people weren't afraid to try and not afraid to fail, and then to share what they're doing, so that it was encouraging the rest of the organization. So we had held numerous events through the last year in really trying to get the information out there, give people the space and the safety to try these things, where without completely risking their existing projects and things that they needed to do, and to try to encourage that growth as well. And just giving them that space, you can be shocked by like what people come up with. Like the innovation is remarkable. That people are finding different ways to do their job, and seeing a peer do it is motivating for other people. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, oh, if they could do it, then maybe I could do it too. And so we cycle through lots of different folks who can share their knowledge and share the experiments that they've done and the things that they've accomplished, and because others can then see the benefits. And so it's not just always a top down kind of thing. It's like, how do we bottom up? Like I'm learning from these folks too, and like what the ideas that they come up with and the way that they're bending the tools, like a lot of people who are innovating in the industry are doing. To really kind of like change things. You can't always imagine it, but somebody's going to try something and it's going to be a game changer.
Well, and for those of you listening in, I hope you pay particular attention to some of the keywords that I hear: experiments, learnings, bottoms up. There's such a journey here of what's possible when you enable the organization, the whole organization, to wrestle with a set of problems and come up with the best ways to solve them. Part of the journey here is the people often closest to the problem are going to have some of the best ideas. So roll all that together. What's implicit in what you said that I love is that there's a bit of there's psychological safety in experiment. Hey, it might go right. It might not. And that's unusual in a big organization. Usually it's just iron triangle. We said we're going to do the following, get these certain, it sort of feels performatory. You got to get these set of features done. So I love both the culture, the organization, and what you're doing. I think it's it's the future, frankly. It's what we need to be as software development. So talking about that, one of the things you mentioned is that you and your peers went through the SVPG masterclass, and you came back with a new product-oriented model. I remember, again, words matter, right? You intentionally called it a framework, not a process, and you didn't overly specify what it should look like. Talk about how that's been going, and maybe give some cliff notes on what that looks like in the organization, because this is new, right? Well, in terms of maybe if you're a small company, like you get this, but if you work in a big IT organization, this is, heretical, right?
Absolutely. So, the product-oriented model, I think, has been around for a while. I don't think that we were particularly, focused on that area originally, but and I think you mentioned this earlier as well. The reality is the AI tools are here now, and they're different. And I think we need to go through this transformation even without the AI tools. I think the product-oriented model is a fantastic approach of trying to build the right products and solve the right problems. So I'm quite excited about that. But I think the value is just extremely unlocked now with these tools. And how you approach these problems is so different and really exciting and motivating, because the pace that we're going to be able to do these things is just so motivating and exciting. As we talked about earlier, we want to deliver more. Like every product manager wants to deliver more of their roadmap. We want to delight our customers, and we want our products to be incredible. but we often feel constrained, and the constraint is going away. We've always used to look at the generation of code and the engineering side of it as the bottleneck, and that is not the bottleneck anymore. It's really starting to shift the bottleneck upstream. If you think in a process mindset, all of a sudden you're upstream because you had to do all these tasks first to ready the work before you develop it. And that's the paradigm we're trying to break, is how do we combine all of these different things. Started with the team topologies, getting into the right organizational structure to unlock the teams. It became, how do we look at becoming this product oriented model so that we are thinking about solving the right problems and building the right products. And then it's, how do you get the most advantage and leverage from the tools that are now available to build things much quicker and to experiment. So we tie back to some of those learnings. And now we've empowered everybody in the organization to prototype and visualize their ideas and show their ideas in a matter of hours and not months, so that we can react and we can test these ideas and get feedback from other people. So it just completely changed the game. Like, it's, we were so linear, I would say, in the past. So this comes into the process versus framework idea. Is process is step 1, then step 2, then step 3, step 4, and everything has to happen in order, or else it breaks. And it's a checklist, and we're trying to get everything done. But that always has a minimum set of time necessary to do it. And where we want to be is that we're continuously delivering and we're continuously discovering how to do something. And that can be accelerated greatly with all this generative AI tools now. So we've really kind of tried to apply all these principles, simultaneously into what we're kind of referring to as our own internal AI DLC framework. And the framework is to give us the flexibility where we're not over specifying how to do it, but we're setting up some guidelines of where we really want to focus on learning. So from the product side of things, we're really focused on that discovery side of things of the SVPG model, and involving engineering, which is a core part of their teachings and their master classes. You need to have all of the disciplines, so product, UX, and engineering, at the table, creating product together and solving problems together. So nobody's making assumptions about what's possible by another discipline, and that we can innovate much faster because we're talking about the same things, and everybody can visualize their ideas and react to it with these new tools at the same time. So I think it's proving to be a big unlock, but it's different. And our teams are we're in the midst of that change right now. And there's lots of learnings coming out of it because it's different. And getting people to change how they're, where they've had success in the past is new. And there's lots of change management to go with that as well.
There sure is. There's so much to unpack in what you just said. Some of the key things that stuck out is everyone is prototyping. Everyone. Talk a bit more about that.
Yeah, well, it's key that every product person, every designer has the ability to represent their idea, and it's these tools. Every month they're changing. It's and it's crazy. And this is where, as a leader, like, I didn't have this ability when I was a product manager. I didn't have these things available to me either. So I'm having to go and learn too, but it's possible, and our organization is fantastic that all the way up to our executive leadership team, everybody's getting their hands dirty with the generative AI. Everybody is building products and building prototypes and whatnot. And that's a huge unlock. So it's really critical that we all do it. So we're all speaking the same language, because the way we used to do our jobs is not how we do them now, and can't be left behind.
Right.
So
yeah.
I think that's so key, and what I've been really encouraging my team to do is get to that prototype fast. And you probably already have a sense of what you need to build, and I think it's faster to go and try to build it, in a prototype sense, and show everybody, and get feedback, and then do it again and iterate and test, and I think we arrive at the right product in a much shorter time period. Rather than doing all this upfront research, trying to articulate it in a particular way, then trying to come up with some requirements, and then asking an engineer to go and architect it. It's like, does this fit the solution? Because in that process-oriented model, we're making decisions and putting constraints that are probably artificial all along the way, that are constraining our ultimate solution. But if we start without those constraints and visualize them and test them and we get real-time feedback, I think we're going to end up with a much better product, much sooner as well, that it's going to be much easier for our development teams to deliver. And they're using the development tools as well. They're obviously that part of the process or the part of the framework, the development side is maturing at a faster pace too, where they can really deliver those new features and those new products too. But we've really tried to separate those two activities. And I think that's where, if we go back to the earlier comment about a framework rather than a process, is we've really looked at, there's the discovery side of things where we're testing ideas, we're finding out what the right solution is to the problem and specifying, coming up with specifications and prototypes and designs that we then have ready for delivery teams to be able to pick up and actually ship. We very explicitly have said that no prototype code is picked up by the delivery teams and to go and put into production, or to finish it. Mm-hmm. We don't want that. We want there to be no risk on the prototype side, so that people will just try anything until they get to the right solution, and then we'll just version it and iterate again. And the cost of failure is so low, and doing it again is so fast. We should just approach all these problems with way fewer constraints. And then our development side of the org can ship that much faster as well. They can worry about security, scalability, performance, architecture, and all the right things that need to happen. But they can do that really efficiently as well. So lots of learnings there. Lots of trying to take things that were all handoffs and put everybody in the same room, figuratively, and to have them ideate and innovate. I think is pretty exciting.
Well, that is the new world. I've heard describe the process of product discovery as it's this building to are we building to learn, or are we building to earn? I forget which great product person that I read that from, but it was a mental model of, well, gosh, that's right. Why do we have to build it all the way out before we get any kind of feedback? And the rate that we can iterate on that from a product side is completely unlocked now. So,
and that's a key learning, I think, in the SVPG world as well, that we have absolutely reiterated with our teams and really trying to help break that model. The first few teams that tried to do the discovery side in our org did one cycle, and then they're like, oh, look, we have something. And 40% of the way there, the development team could just finish it. And we're like, no, that's not the point. And we had to reiterate. It's like, no, do it again. And who did you show yet? It's like, yeah, that was fast, that prototype, but show somebody. And the iteration is okay. Be safe and just to learn. So we're in that reinforcement stage of rolling out these things where we've explained it. Ironically, this morning we're in a learning cycle right now, and I did a kickoff this morning, and I was reiterating all of these concepts with the team again because there was getting there's a lot of information coming at them, and so they're picking up certain parts of it, interpreting certain parts of it, and so we have to restate and kind of reset, and we're going to we have to build this muscle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, how have you? One of the hard things I've seen come out of this is I heard an executive say one time, "I've seen the prototype. It's pretty much there. It shouldn't take much to finish it." How have you? I'm sure you've heard that before and responded to it a million times. Mm-hmm.
Or had your executive build the prototype themselves and say, "Oh, this isn't that hard. Why don't you just go finish it?" That has happened more than once, and so our engineers are a little more concerned about that. It's like, well, no, you also want this to be really secure and deployable and supportable, and there's a lot of checklists that we need to go and make sure before it's ready to go. And so I think that's also a bit of figuring that part out right now, because there's certain things that can be compressed, and I think those are just the new bottlenecks. So whenever you solve a bottleneck, you just uncover another one, and so you just got to keep finding them. And like we said, the pace of change in the generative AI world is so incredibly fast that those problems are getting solved and more automated every day, and so those will become faster and faster too.
Sure. For a product leader or a product manager who is really trying to bring engineering closer in and wants to adopt some of this model, but doesn't yet have leadership air cover, What's the right move for them? Like, how would you coach them to make some moves to help demonstrate the value of this model?
I think it's really important to try, or to show, so if your leader isn't getting their hands dirty, then you might need to go demonstrate what's possible to help them get exposed and really kind of show and hopefully encourage them to also spend time and show them that they can do it. I think when any leader touches these tools and starts to realize what is possible, their minds are going to be changed. And it's like you realize that you are going to get left behind if you don't, go and try something new because your competitors are gonna. And in this industry where, if you can imagine a startup coming in and disrupting you, the cost to be disrupted by a startup these days is far less than it needed to be. They can cover a lot of ground to make your legacy product. The big moat used to be in the past that I've got so many years of code development under my belt and so much product that we've shipped. Well, the time for somebody to go replicate that now is far less. And so we should all be worried and really be thinking about how do we, what are the new ways to differentiate? And I think the end of the day, the best way to differentiate is have the best product. And, the best product, you got to go, is product led, that product oriented model, go solve the problems in the most unique and differentiated way. That's ultimately going to be the way to go. Because you aren't going to be able to defend your legacy territory just because you have lots of lines of code. So.
Yep. The big realization for me was basically at a conference many years ago. It was like, why does Venmo exist? I mean, these banks have been at this for a long time. Why does Venmo even exist? Wow. Yeah, it was a missed opportunity. Curtis, this has been enormously insightful. Thank you for the time. If folks want to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to find you, follow you, keep up?
Of course, you can find me on LinkedIn. So Curtis Sherbo on LinkedIn there as well. So you can look me up there. But happy to fire me an email as well. So just my first initial last name. So csherbo@athenahealth.com.
Fantastic. This has been a great session. Curtis, thanks for sharing your insights. And we'll see everybody next time. Curtis, thank you.
Thank you so much.